Hey, we are back and we are already at lesson 16D. In the next preview and in the next class, you're going to need to be familiar with some of the basic structures of bubble charts. Similar to scatter plots, bubble charts use two axes that each represent a different variable. The horizontal and vertical lines drawn on a set of axes split the planes into four quadrants. Below, in just a minute, you're going to see red is vertical, blue is horizontal, and they represent the averages in a certain collection of data. Four quadrants are often labeled with Roman numerals. And for example, consider the data you analyzed in Worksheet 16C showing the number of hours a student spent preparing for class in a typical 7-day week. Suppose each student was asked for their score on a recent midterm in a class. This data can be represented on a set of axes such as. So you see the information that was described earlier, including the Roman numerals. They go counterclockwise. And where there is a horizontal, actually two horizontal axes, a vertical and a vertical. Notice it says hours. Notice it says grade. And then question 1 says, describe the quantity represented on the horizontal axis of the previous graph. Well, that's going to be hours. But specifically what kind of hours? It is the hours spent studying, and it's for class. And I believe the time is over a typical or normal 7-day week. Question 2, describe the quantity represented on the vertical axis of the graph of the previous graph. And it's a grade, but it's a grade on what? And if we look back up through the top information, it's going to be the grade on the midterm exam. There is another question, question 3, that says describe the information represented by the vertical line on the previous graph. Okay. Okay, I see what they're saying. Describe the information represented by the vertical line on the previous graph. And so if we look right here, we have 20 hours and we have a grade of 70. So it says describe the information represented by the vertical line. The vertical line is representing that this student studied 20 hours for the week. While we're here, let's go ahead and say that the horizontal line is that they made a grade of 70. So in question 4, and by the way, I haven't mentioned that if you have not already been pausing doing these questions before you listen to the full video, you should be. It's a great time to hit pause, keep answering at least question 4, maybe go on to 5, 6, and 7. But this is a great time for you to pause, write down some answers, and then come back and let's work together on the video. So now it says complete the following table to describe a representative student in each of the quadrants determined by the horizontal and vertical lines in the previous graph. This will allow you to describe data points in each of the 4 quadrants in a more qualitative way. For example, it mentions that if you have a grade of 70 or higher, yet you studied less than 20 hours. Let's go see what that looks like. They're calling it low performance or low effort, high performance. So in question 4, the one that we read pertains to this quadrant. In this quadrant, our grade is high, our hours are low. And so they're calling this one low effort, but high performance. Performance. So with that in mind, we can go ahead and label the other 4 quadrants. So let's start here. This one is still a high performance. The grade is still up here. The grade is still 70 or higher. But it's also a student who put in 20 or more hours, so that is what we're going to call high effort. You can go ahead and add that to your chart. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get back there pretty fast. So right here, if the grade is 70 or higher and the study is 20 hours or more, we're going to call it high effort. and high performance. So now we're going to go look at what if the grade is below 70, then there are two caveats. One is if they study less than 20 hours, the other is if they study 20 hours or more. So our guess could be if the low effort was from 20 hours, we're still over here at low effort. And now we are below 70, so we're not high performance anymore. We're now going to be low performance. But if we move over to this side, we are still below 70, so we are still low performance. But this student studied 20 hours or more, so they have high effort. And let's go look at this on the chart. So looking at this on the chart, below 70 is going to be low performance. So if you want to go ahead and say that on both of these, they're both below 70, so they're both low performance. But this student studied less than 20 hours, so it's not only low performance, it's also low effort. But this student studied more than 20 hours, so they get high effort. And before we move on to the next question, let's go ahead and make sure we've covered all the bases. Looking right here, we have a low, low. And right here, we have a high, high. Here we have a low, high, and here we have a high, low. We have covered all of the quadrants. So moving on down this lesson, we now are looking at bubble charts. I think this is one of the coolest things when you get to watch this chart in motion in class. You can go Google it on your own. But for right now, we are looking at the Gapminder World 2012. They're going to ask us several questions about this. I think instead of going over to the other part, I just want to look at this and answer some of the questions. It says in the previous graph, which is this one, it represents 4 variables of data. Each variable is represented in a different way on the graph. The correspondence is given in the following table. And so in the table, it says life expectancy. So over here in life expectancy, it is on the vertical axis. Again, this is right before question 5. Then it says the income per person, right here, see, right there. Income per person is on the horizontal axis. Okay. And then ask about the size of the country. Well, before it does, I want to mention that over here on the vertical axis, it gives us a unit, and on the horizontal axis, it gives us a unit. Then it gives us a key that has more information, like it says, the population of the country. The population of the country is given by the size of the dot. So if you look at India's dot, it is huge. And then if you look here at, is that Madagascar? It's teeny. And so the size of the dot is representing the size of the population. Then the region of the country is given by color. In other words, these different areas are represented by whether it's going to be like where the United States is or where India is. One's green and one's purple. So then it keeps going to say, use the previous graph to answer the following questions. So question number 5. Question number 5 says, what colors are used for the bubbles in the graph and what does each color correspond to? And so if you're looking down in here, or if you're looking where you can see better, somewhere it's telling us that there are 4 different colors. Green, and so you see that's for the United States. Green is going to be North America and South America. Blue. And if you look at blue on the chart, blue is representing Africa. Then there's yellow. Oh, why didn't I do this earlier? Yellow. So yellow is right in here. And so yellow is representing Europe and Russia. And then finally, They're calling it a pink, but I'm going to try to match it with this purple. And this purple or pink is representing, well, down here, down under, and right there. So it's representing Australia and it's representing Asia. So that's question number 5. Then question number 6. Question number 6. Life expectancy is measured in what unit? Well, glad you asked. So let's move number 6 right here. Life expectancy is measured in years. Question number 7, income per person. Well, then let's go to this. Question number 7, income per person is measured in United States dollars. And that completes this lesson, which is lesson 16D. You need to go ahead and look at your syllabus, see if you have more lessons to do. Keep going if you do, and if not, celebrate because this semester is almost over.